Here we are, on the bus. We found a new project on the internet. So it's not really that we bought it yet. Because we are going to look at the car now, in reality, a damaged car always disappoints compared to an advertisement. Since they actually hide quite a lot in such a photo. They take the picture a bit differently than it just is. Yes, the damage just seems less, which would make you buy the car sooner. So you're actually triggered by a car that has less damage. And that's what you go to look at, and then you look at it. Then you find out it has more damage than expected. And then you have to start calculating whether it's still worth buying this car. So that's why we're going to take a look at this damaged car now. It's a Golf 7 GTI. It's not a special GTI or anything, but we did see a few options on that car that make it unique. It has those TVS stickers on the back. It has a different exhaust system, and that's why we think the car has been chipped. And that it therefore has modified parts on it, which are indeed an added value for that car. That's why we actually find this car quite interesting. We've started our journey from Amsterdam. It's quite a drive. It's actually in Dordrecht. I'm gonna ask the seller later if we can film there. If that's not allowed, then we'll obviously skip that part. And we're driving into a tunnel now, so maybe you can't see me very well, but anyway, if that's allowed, then we'll take you along in a kind of purchase inspection. Yes, I'm curious if the damage is not too bad. Alright guys, so we are here at a company. We'll keep the company anonymous, but it's really cool that we're allowed to film here. Here we are, the Golf 7 GTI. What immediately stands out is its TVS back, which is usually a good thing. It often means the car is either tuned or has performance upgrades, adding value to the vehicle. What also stands out is a GTE emblem, indicating this car is electric. It's a special edition of the GTI, which is super nice. But take a look, it has an X-Force exhaust system, at least the final muffler. And if we walk around it, we see a Maxon spoiler as well. So someone has been there before us who has tastefully tuned the car. We also actually see that the roof is open and that there are a lot of tape residues. So that actually just indicates a bit that this has been taped off and that the car has been outside in the rain. It's been on there for quite a while. Huge color difference on the roof. On the other hand, the car has been imported and has already had 4 owners since 2022, so that's quite a lot. I wanted to say, wow, that door doesn't hit at all, but it's not in. Yes, actually, when you open the door, you already feel marked that it runs against the side panel here, and everyone has pulled the door open once, so the door has to be painted anyway. And what happens then is when you open the door is that you smell cigarettes once, and I really hate that. If you don't smoke and smell cigarette smoke, try to get it out of the car briefly. The rest is fine. There are just the GT steering wheels that we know, and also those well-known flipper things that you really like, right? Exactly. These go off first for me, but they're more tasteful than the Polo ones. I might consider them. But the most important thing is that we are here, and that we are going to look at the damage. Because how I sit in the car, I already noticed a few things. The selling party has, of course, already said that the belt tensioners are stuck. You can see that too. And they are also quite moldy. The windshield is broken, which we were unaware of. Windshields typically break when the dashboard airbag deploys. But with this one, it's different, because the crack starts in the corner. The side panel has actually broken the windshield. Yes, that's quite a shame because due to the impact you can also see that most of the impact was on this side, but the blow kind of went in from this side, and as a result this side panel has folded over a bit. It's folded over proudly, and here, so 2 chassis boxes here have a huge bend in them. I'm shocked, as it were. Those legs have both gone that way. Yes, which is actually quite an advantage, isn't it? Definitely, because if you have the force distribution sideways, it's actually better than backwards, because it could be that it then crumples towards your dashboard, and then such a car is no longer repairable. We see that a complete new front end needs to be put on, so headlights, cooler package, and the whole shebang, so everything at the front needs to be new. I also saw a small oil leak under the car, somewhere from the turbo. And besides that, what strikes me is that there is a different coil in it from APR and a Mega X-Force downpipe. That downpipe can lead to a complete exhaust system. I'm going to Google what that costs, but sometimes you have exhaust systems that are super cheap. Sometimes you have exhaust systems that are quite pricey. Yes, so here definitely needs 2 side panels, front bumper, whole front end to come with cooler package. A battery. A battery indeed. It's broken. Don't forget, a battery can sometimes just be 150 euros. I have to say, X-Force makes quite expensive exhausts. The downpipe alone is already 1,000 euros. Then you have the cutback system here, so the muffler, that's almost 2K, and the downpipe is 1,000. The options shown here already total 3,000 euros. It likely includes a chip from TPS, as a sticker alone wouldn't suffice for the car. As we walk around, we actually also just see that the owner has done good maintenance. In terms of brakes, in terms of tires, the tires are very good. Vredestein. The car has tires with significant tread and performance brake discs. So with perforated brake discs, he didn't sell the cheapest ones. Either that, or he had to drill them himself. We did that too, but I don't think it's done on a Golf 7 GTI. So that car, the price of this car is actually just as much. If you would subtract the damage from a well-driving one on Marketplace, and that's why this one isn't super interesting to buy, but it is a very interesting damage to make. And that's why we came to look at this car anyway. Given that the price is not optimal, but it's a very nice damage that we might be able to learn something from. And of course also to show you guys, hey, how is something like this fixed? Meanwhile, Dantje checks the panel paint thickness.
Measuring. Yes.
What often happens with imported cars is that they often come with damage. And yes, with such a paint thickness meter, you can of course determine how thick the paint is on a car. On that other setting, you see it exactly right. Now you're looking at millimeters, but you need to look at micrometers. This one? Yes, there you can see it a bit more clearly. And what you actually do is you look panel by panel if there are big differences in them. If that's not the case, it actually means that it doesn't necessarily have to be repainted.
And
so what he does is measure the paint thickness between the metal and the thing. So that's how you actually know whether there's filler or whether there's more paint on it. Because yes, the manufacturer usually sprays 150 to 200, and you also see 20 is 200, and here also 15. That's all original. It also looks original because you look at actually all seams and crevices, and if that's actually neatly sprayed, then yes. We had measured the Ferrari, and so it's not an automated system that sprays that thing, but was hand sprayed at that time, and it came to 300, and these are cars that are sprayed by a robot, and that's very precise, 15, 15, 15. Yes. It all looks well when you open the doors. Then you actually also see that yes, not really crazy things has on the inside of the doors. So if the damage has been done, you never know 100%, but you try to exclude things when checking such a damaged car actually, that there is just no filler on it. That it is equal metal, you see that. So that is also always a sign that it just has not been repaired. We have seen a car once that a side panel broke and that it, with the damage, just saw the filler residues come through. So with this car at least. So it seems like a fair car to me. Yes, there are a few details we couldn't see in the photo that make us uncertain, such as whether it includes a front window. The broken battery indicates the car sustained damage some time ago, which actually makes that battery live. And why isn't such a car fixed, huh? Because that's also a thing, based on the calculation we made, that we have let go. The cost price matches its market value, suitable for the used car market. You actually want to be well below it if you're going to have setbacks during a damage repair process. Since you're buying a car without seeing it, you couldn't test drive it. So there can always be a catch under the grass that makes such a project too expensive, which actually makes it no longer interesting to sell later. And what is actually a disadvantage with this one, for example, there are no booklets included, there is no maintenance history included, there is only one key included. And these are things that a new owner would actually want to have after us because it is simply an added value. And you also want to know what has been done to such a car in the past and whether your mileage is correct, because such a car that has been imported never has a national car pass, no NAP, so to speak. And therefore you can't really see whether such a mileage is honest or not, because yes, you also don't have any booklet, so to speak. So all in all, it does not indicate that the mileage is correct. But the most annoying thing I find is that the car smells very much of cigarette smoke. I don't smoke, so the smell really bothers me. It's also on this side panel, and you'll never get it out completely. There's also an odd bend in it, somewhere inside here, as we've seen. Such a hood hinge has to be involved. Always, always. There's an alarm class in it that I don't really know from Teva, with all kinds of boxes included. The cooling blossom on this part looks good from the inside. It's a nice pink color. The headlight still needs to be done. As you can see, that headlight can just be deleted and it will just be put back in its place so it looks like the damage is less. So we're gonna make a little sum as it stands here, so the setbacks we've seen now, and although it's just a really good damage to fix if you just pay the right price, so that's not it, it's just really a nice damage. Shall we start? Oh, that was allowed, right? Yes, I'm curious. Look, they do indicate that it starts, but I'm curious about how it sounds. Whether it sounds good mechanically and how that exhaust system naturally sounds. Oh yes, then we had to put this one on, right? We'll leave it for now. But before we start, I want to mention that we are indeed talking about applying a calculation to it. That's actually excluding labor costs, right? Actually, because we do this as a hobby, for fun on YouTube, we don't calculate the labor costs. But if you really want to do this as a business, so just want to do it for your job, then of course you have to take into account the hours you spend working on the car. What you're saying now, Balint, is that the cost of the parts plus this car actually comes to a price where you could just buy a normal car on the marketplace. And that doesn't include the labor hours. And that's what makes the difference. You would actually have to charge 2,500 euros in labor costs to repair the car, and then it becomes too expensive because you're never going to get rid of such a car for more than it's listed on the marketplace, including damage history, no booklets, one key, and those are all considerations you have to make when you buy a car for fun. Of course, we're going to start the car, and I'm curious to hear how it sounds with such a complete downpipe, and we can't listen for too long, just want to hear the cold start sound and check if it's in order. I can already hear something, nice alarm system. They install a lot of DEFAs in BMWs. Yeah? Yes, I know that. You've learned a lot in those few years at the dealer, haven't you? A year? Is it keyless? Yes, the key is with me, but it's keyless. Put on the brake, yes, but How is that battery empty? Press DEFA once. It may be on now. Is there a clapper system on it? You're right. The engine was in a severely limited mode, despite sounding normal without any alarming noises. Let's listen to it again. Put it straight into off or reverse. And we're back in the workshop. Unfortunately, we lost the footage you just saw of us driving backwards with the car. On the other hand, this episode has already been uploaded to YouTube once, and then we mentioned that there was an upload error. That's true because we lost the rest of the footage. I don't know how and where. And somewhere between uploading and creating the file, something went wrong. But anyway, the most important thing is as follows. The damage to that Golf wasn't too bad after all. Only the amount for which it is for sale is still considerably high. That we decided not to buy the car if the disappointments hadn't been on the car.
So not that front window?
A leaking turbo or something like that because there was a puddle of oil under the car. That's also a disappointment. If he had another key, booklets, then we probably would have taken the car because it would have been super fun content, because we've never repaired a damage where the chassis beams were as bent as this one, so it would not only have been a learning process, but we could also show you how we would repair this. So yes, we actually left that car. Because we couldn't agree on the price with the seller, we wanted to significantly lower it. Because yes, the less you actually pay for such a car, in the end, the better it obviously is, the larger your profit margin becomes. But such a seller sticks to a certain amount at some point, and yes, we just couldn't agree on it. So unfortunately, we don't have the rest of the footage for you. It was a really nice car to actually have. But it had nice features, like that exhaust system, so probably a custom chip. Eventually decided to leave the car because the amount was still too high. And the parts you had to buy for it actually made the car worth as much as they are for sale on Marketplace. So yes, with this said, we are still looking for nice damage projects. But of course, the price has to be right and the damage has to be good. There are so many pitfalls you have to watch out for. Did you enjoy the episode? Remember to subscribe and like. Until next time, ciao.